Hello everyone and welcome back to another Sweet Ramblings. I'm Angela from Cake Angel and I'm so excited to be here again with you just to have a chat with one of my baker friends. So if you're new to watching the Sweet Ramblings series, this is basically a series that I came up with as a way to connect with other bakers and showcase them on a live chat forum, just to give them a chance to talk about who they are and what they do. It's great to see there's people logging in already, so thank you for joining and being here. Today I've got Ash from the Cookie Curio joining me, so I'm not sure if she's here. Let me see if I can add her. Hey Kristen, hi Daphne, and hi Marcy as well. So I'm just going to wait for Ash to join in. So Ash is specializes in painting on cookies, so have a think if there's any questions that you would like to ask as well. She might just have a little bit of problem logging into live. Let me check. So let me know in the comments as well. Are you fans of painting on cookies, or do you prefer to just ice them or dust them? I would love to know what you prefer to do. Ash has got quite a unique style. I'm not sure if anyone of you have seen her work at all, but let's see if she can log in. I don't see her yet. I think she might be having some issues logging in, so we'll just keep chatting for now anyway until she logs in. So I'm not sure if anyone saw my stories earlier today, but I've talked briefly about some changes that Instagram have made where they're actually going to be pushing videos a lot more now. So let me know what you think about that. I know a lot of people struggle with making videos. I'm going to actually start to do some tutorials on that to make it easier for you. But I think you can all see with Reels becoming more popular that seems like that's really just the way that Instagram is going to go now. They're trying to compete with TikTok and YouTube as well. And I think they really just like to have people putting their faces out there and talking to people. So don't be afraid to ever just go live like I'm doing right now and say hi to people and just enjoy it. I think we all have to start somewhere. So lives is something I wasn't really comfortable to do until I started these 4 weeks ago, and you really do get used to it very quickly, so don't be afraid of it. I see Daphne's got a comment here that she loves painting but she still struggles with it, and I'll admit on cookies I'm not that confident in painting on cookies really. I tend to use dusts instead, so with my background in cakes I'm a lot more familiar with dusting things and adding details to them that way rather than actually painting. So there's lots of different ways. Hopefully Ash can work on her technical issues and join us. Let me see if I can invite her a different way. Oh, Daphne's figured out how to do a time lapse. That's really good. But yes, I know, showing your face online can be quite daunting. So here she is. Hey Ash, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you today?
I am good. Good to see you. I was wondering if you had technical issues, and then I figured out maybe I wasn't inviting you correctly. So I'm still learning.
This is my first
and that's
time.
what I was talking about. Yeah. And that's what I was talking about to everyone, that this whole going live and putting your face out there is such a new experience for everyone. And I mean, just roll with it, right?
Well.
So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
That's good advice.
But it's great to see you.
Great to see you too.
Everyone, this is Ash from the Cookie Curio. She is a phenomenal artist. She absolutely loves painting on cookies, and she's very kindly agreed to go through that with us today. So do you want to just give a bit of a background about yourself first? Sure. And how you got into cookie decorating?
Yeah, basically, like 2 years ago, I had this just sudden urge to make beautiful desserts. And so I just said, I'm going to learn how to do that. And so I did. So I taught myself at home just by watching YouTube videos and tutorials that are free from other cookiers, and just building up my skills. I was an artist first. I've been an artist my whole life. So when I started to decorate cookies, I thought, oh, I can do this. This is no big deal. And then I tried to make icing, and then I learned to be humble. Yeah. So I've learned a lot since then. Cookie decorating is hard, and
Yes, it is.
yeah, but I really enjoy it.
It is.
I've spent the last year, like everybody else, inside, and cookie decorating has really been my happy place. So I've been very thankful for it.
That's how I feel too. I think there are so many people that have really used it as their comfort and almost like a grounding of going back to basics and just doing what feels right. And for me, baking has been there for many years, doing that for me as well. So it's interesting you say the transition from being an artist to decorating cookies is not as easy as you think it would be, because it's a completely different medium. Royal icing is temperamental, to say the least. There's all sorts of things that can affect it, like the weather and all sorts of things. It's just
and I'm in Oregon, so in Oregon it's very humid, and so all of the rules go out the window because I tried to make macarons 2 years ago, and my drying time was like 3 hours instead of like 45 minutes. So the humidity and how it affects cookies is definitely a factor.
So what is the, when did you start doing cookies? Was it just this past year, or did you dabble with them previously?
Well, basically when I guess it was when I was 19, my grandmother had this like celebration of life party before, they wanted to have it before she passed away so that she could be there and everyone could tell her how great she was. And my job was to make some cookies for it. And I'd never made cookies before. And I developed my own sugar cookie recipe, and I decorated these terrible looking, but really sweet Rose cookies. Her name is Rose. And that is where it started and ended until just 2 years ago, which is a long time. So 2 years ago, I picked up cookies again and decided that, I could do it then, I could do it now, and I want to be better at it, and I want to improve. And so that's what I did.
And I think it's true with anything new. You just need time and practice, and to just know that you will improve, because you have to figure out so many things with your icing, like the consistency that works best for you, the tools that work best for you, which hopefully you can talk to us about that when we go on to painting.
Yes.
And then just finding the right space to do it in and being in the right mindset for it as well. I think if you go into it thinking everything's going to work out first time, you'll be disappointed, because even still for me, things still sometimes go wrong because you forget something or you take something for granted and it doesn't work. And there's so many variables anytime you're dealing with food, I find.
Definitely. And when you're dealing with different icings, something I'm going to be talking about today is kind of cheating and only using one white flood icing for the whole thing. And then I'll show you some examples of cookies where I flooded them and then using edible pens and alcohol and paintbrushes was able to spread the color around. And here, I don't know if it's going to be visible, but
wow,
there's a potion bottle cookie, and next to it is a hummingbird cookie.
Wow.
And you can see, like,
I love these. I'm so glad that you're showing us these, because I've seen these on your feed and they're just phenomenal, the way you have your shading and
thank you,
the depth of color. Amazing.
Thank you. And like, I did the cork on the potion bottle in white icing too, and then colored it and shaded it. But I did the eye on the hummingbird with gold and then painted it black, because gold was the only consistency I had that would work. But anyway, beside the point.
Whatever works,
yeah,
right?
It gives it that like little tiny cheap 3D dimension, so it looks like there's a lot more work put into it than there was.
So how long roughly, I'm sure you'll go into this in more detail, but how long roughly would the Hummingbird, for example, take?
The Hummingbird, when I first did it, I was developing it and it took me all day. And I was doing it with a dry brush. I hadn't yet discovered that if you use Everclear or alcohol, whichever high grain alcohol you have available, on the end of your brush, when you're moving around pigment on a cookie, that it will like glide a little longer instead of absorbing so quickly into the dry icing. Let's see. Did I answer the question? What was the question?
You did.
Okay, good.
Yeah. It's a challenge though, isn't it? Because I think for those people that make a lot of cookies, when you start these kind of techniques, they really do eat into your time because they're so detailed. And do you have to let them dry between stages as well, or you a kind of sit down and do it all in one go?
Well, with this technique, I can sit down and do it all in one go. Here are two, like, you can, I don't know if it's too close to see the light, but like this one has just yellow on it so far that I blended around. Now this one has yellow and blue, and you can see how it's turned into a green in some areas, but that's just the beginning. Yeah. And then there are gray lines, which I'm not sure if you can see, but there's an outline of where I'm going to put my color down. And once I put the color down, the pens that I use are, you can use any pens you want. I just use Rainbow Dust pens. I have like a stupid amount of Rainbow Dust pens. And
that's a nice amount. I like that. Yeah. I'm a color girl too, yeah. So I completely feel you. Yeah.
I have my arsenal ready. So yeah. When I'm moving that color around, it's I forgot where I was going with that.
No, but it's good. So you're showing that you just start with one area and then you start to layer up. Yes. And then move the color around. Yes. And blend.
I start with the lighter colors. So I'll start with yellow and move on to like light green, the colors that are around each other, so that if I have to layer, like you're saying, I'm very into layering the colors, because you can get away with a lot and make it look like an airbrush. And I don't have an airbrush. I decorate my cookies in my living room so that I can be with my family all the time and not be like shut away in a dark corner somewhere, like decorating cookies furiously, because that's what I imagine my alternative is. But I'm able to just sit here and do it all in one go, and it's really easy. I mean, like, the technique is a little bit like there's a learning curve to it, but as opposed to trying to like airbrush my family and the TV and everything in the living room covered in dust and color, it's a great alternative.
It is. So the question I have for you then, I also don't have an airbrush, and with all the part of my background was making gum paste flowers, so I would do a lot of kind of painting, but it's more brushing with petal dust instead of pens. So do you find that, I guess what I was going to say, it's just interesting that you mentioned, because airbrushes is one of the key things that a lot of decorators feel they need. Yeah. But if you're coming up with techniques that they don't need one, then I mean, that's a bonus, because the edible pens are so popular these days, and
they last.
They come in so many colors too. It's amazing.
Yeah, the pens that I have lasted over a year. They have expiration dates that are usually 2 to 3 years. So they're not like infinite use, but they have a lot of pigment in them. They're double-sided. The ones I use have a very fine tip and then like a marker tip. I use the marker tip when I'm color blending with brushes, because it puts down a lot more pigment at once. And I'm able to then move that pigment around with the brush, because it's sitting on top of the icing right before it dries.
Yeah. We've had a few comments that other people love the Rainbow Dust brushes too, the colors. Yeah. They're such a good brand. I've been a fan of their brand for years. Their colors are phenomenal. So, so one question I have for you then, before we go deeper into painting, is how did you come up with your name, Cookie Curio?
Oh, well, Cookie Curio came from a professor that I had in college. told me that, well, it was a compliment to me. She said that I was very curious, that I had a lot of curiosity, and that I should always hold on to that, because it is very valuable. And so I've kind of carried that with me. I got like a little pendant necklace that had like a little question mark. I'm like, yeah, I'm curious about everything. Yeah. And then when I thought, well, let's see, I've got these cookies now. So turning the page, I've got these cookies. I want to show them to the world. How would I do that? How would I invite the world in to see what I've done? And I thought, well, like a curiosity cabinet is a great place for little weird things of value that you can display and other people can look at. And it's not like, look at me. It's just like, hey, these are the neato things that I like. So it's,
I love that.
yeah, it's like a curiosity cabinet. So it's Cookie Curio.
Yeah, that's really neat. I love that idea. And
Thank
it's
you.
true, you should hold on to that, because I think sometimes we're kind of told as we go through life to not ask questions and not be curious, but that's how we learn. So
It is.
I'm a big fan of that. I really love that idea. And where do you get your inspiration from? How do you come up with these techniques and designs?
Well, I have a lot of experience. I've drawn my whole life, so I have used crayons and all kinds of stuff like that. The the last like 5 years, I've been doing a lot of digital art, a lot of digital coloring, and that, just to say, that was like a real departure when I went to cookies. It's like in different dimensions. Um, I digress. And now I forgot what I was saying because that was so exciting to remember. You'll find that I do this all the time. I'll be talking about
Yeah, that's good.
something and then I'll forget what the point was while I'm talking about it. So
So you found the transition from digital to cookies to
yes,
be
yes,
different?
yes, and the
Yes.
inspiration that I get uh, from actually just from everything, like the hummingbirds. I looked at real hummingbirds. I looked at real hummingbird pictures. I definitely have uh, photographs that I use as models, so that I am able to capture that moment in time for that object, like a still life. So, because hummingbirds move really fast.
Yes. Yeah.
But basically,
And
just
you,
real
but you want
life.
to capture that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you want to capture that realism too. If you're making something like a flower or an animal, you want it to look like it's moving.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's good. That's really good. I like that. So do you want to go ahead then? And so Ash has
Sure.
made some samples to show some of the stages that she goes through with her painting. So if you want to, I'm so
Yeah.
intrigued because this is something I haven't done a lot of. On cakes, yes, on cookies, no, and I know it's completely different.
Okay, so we've got, this is very faint. I'm not sure if it'll show up, but there is gray outline of the design. It's very faint. What I do next, and that's in gray pen, edible
Hmm.
pen. What I do next is I start to lay some color down with the edible pens so you can see blank color.
It's a big
It's a
difference.
big difference. And
Yeah.
and so you can
And how
see,
long between those two? How long would that stage have taken you?
this stage is probably like 2.5, 3 hours. And then the next stage that I do is, let's see, which way would it be? It would be this way. I add pigmented edible dusts, and that gives the depth of color, that dark, deep purple, that dark, deep blue, those shadows that I really want to accentuate,
Mhm.
are blended more smoothly. And so, yeah, that's
And,
a big progression in one stage to the next.
and for the dust that you use, do
Yeah.
you have a particular brand that you prefer?
Yes, I like to use Roxy and Rich. I like to
Hmm.
use I think I've used the Sugar Art. I have a little, like, brought some little, like, props. I think these are all Roxy and Rich. Yeah. And these are different petal dusts. So this one is like the royal purple. And then also, I really like their hybrid luster dusts. So those go down and they leave like a slight shimmer, but also like a metallic kind of thing. And like this one's pink. If you can see that.
That's nice.
Yeah, so these are the ones I use on those cookies.
That's amazing. Petal dust and luster dust are my weakness. That if I could buy all of them,
yes,
I would. I absolutely love that, and that's what I like to do. Even just with the royal icing, is just do those little bits of shading with the dust. Yeah. But it's really interesting that that's what you use, and you mix that with your Everclear or your alcohol.
Actually, the dust that I used in this stage is dry brushed on. So it gives it that, again, like that airbrush look where it's able to achieve that gradient without any harsh lines, unless I want them to be harsh. Yeah. It's really fun to decorate such a colorful cookie. It's just fun to look at. Like, I always feel really like grateful when I get to decorate something that's so colorful and fun to look at. Yeah.
Especially when so much of what we see at the moment is royal icing based, so all the textures and everything will come from that rather than the painting. But I love that this whole painting revolution is coming. I think it's amazing what you can do.
Here's another close-up of just the pens. And so you can see, like, I started with yellow right in here, and then I moved on to pink. And when I blended the pink over the yellow, we got sort of an orange look. And then we've got purple over here, blue. And it's really hard to leave areas white when I'm working with these pens, because I just want to keep putting more color down because it's so fun. But if I can control myself, it's really great to leave those white areas where it looks like that reflection is really high and almost blown out in white. I then, after I do the dust, so we've got the dust, the pens, and then the dust stage right here. And then we have the finished product here. I've added some white paint highlights to the waves, to the water line. And I'm not sure if you can see, but there are some squiggles on the water surface, on the potion surface, you can kind of see there, and then like extra highlight up here on the bottle. That's all done with white paint that I didn't bring, but it's by, I think, it's like edible art, something. I'll show you. I'll put a picture of the bottle. Anyway, it's totally edible, and it's really good. Yeah.
Do you have a bit of a shimmer on it as well? Is that from your luster dust?
I do. As a matter of fact, the shimmer is from this giant bottle of Super Pearl Shimmer Sparkle Dust. And it's by Roxy Rich, and it's totally edible. And I just like shoot it at the well, what I do is I spray the cookie with PME edible glaze spray, and then I shoot it with the sparkles, and the sparkles stick to the glaze spray. Otherwise they would just blow off.
Yeah.
So that's how I get the like kind of shimmery, magical.
Yeah, it really catches the light when you move it. It's so good.
Thank you.
It's great. You could, and it kind of enhances all that shading as well. That's really, really good. For those that are watching, if you have any questions for Ash while she's showing this, feel free to just pop them in the comments, and then we can get Ash to answer those for you as well. And you would think it sounds simple, but overall, how long would that cookie have taken you again?
This cookie, see, like I say, it's simple. I'm like, oh, it's so easy.
Yeah.
It just took me 12 hours. It was no big deal. This cookie took me, I did it in one day. done it before, so I'd already had practice doing it, going through all the stages of decoration. But this cookie took me, I just did it, yeah, like 2 days ago because I was so excited to see you. Like 6 hours. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good to quantify it for people that haven't tried it so they know kind of what they're heading into when they start these kind of techniques. But
Yeah, like when
that's,
you can't do it in 15 minutes, don't give up.
yeah. And I think that's what part of the reason of doing these chats too is to kind of help people realize that how long it takes them to do something is fine.
Yes.
I think for a lot of people there's this misconception that cookies just kind of magically happen, but they don't. Newsflash, they don't. They're not on a shelf, and they're not just ready waiting for you. But so do you store all of your cookies then? Do you keep them as keepsakes, or do you pass them on to family?
I usually give my cookies away to friends, to people that I know are having a time where maybe cookies would make them feel better. And I made these just for you. Today, I don't actually save my cookies. I have a limited amount of square footage where I live, and I've been graciously given enough to make the cookies, but I think if I started keeping them all, I would probably take up the rest of the entire house. So no, I don't keep my cookies, but I do eat a lot of them.
You do?
They're really
Do you
good.
ever find it's hard to give them away though? Do you find that sometimes there's one that you just think, oh, I wish I could keep it?
Yeah, this potion bottle was one of those. But there was a really good reason to give it away, and that made me feel even better because I had such affection for it that when I gave it to the person, I really felt like I was giving them something of worth, and and they appreciated it too. They were like, "What? This is crazy!"
And it tastes good.
Yeah.
And I think when you do something that's so artistic as well, you get this emotional attachment to them. And I know I still keep a lot of the things that I make, and
I take pictures. That's what I do.
Yeah, so many pictures.
That is the thing. So that is my version of keeping them. I go outside, I take sunlit pictures of my cookies, and I put them in an album in my phone, and I post them on social media, and and so I can go back and I can look at them every day if I want to, and I can remember, wow, like I did that, and I could maybe do it again, and it's possible. Yeah.
And it's a nice way to see your progression too, isn't it? Of how your techniques have improved and how your style has changed as well. So are you ready to do some quick fire questions?
I am. I wanted to show you this little feather that I did with pens.
Okay.
It's a mini little feather.
That's sweet.
Okay, quick fire questions. I can't avoid them any longer.
Okay, let's do a few.
Okay.
One of them I was going to ask you, you've kind of already answered, so I'm not going to ask you. I always ask everyone, do they prefer to paint or airbrush? But we all know the answer to that one now.
I gave it away.
Okay, so this is an interesting one because I think I know how you're going to answer. And I ask everyone this every week, projector or freehand? I think I know the answer.
Okay, so freehand most of the time, except for lettering.
Yes.
So I did get a projector, and I will even go so far as to say my whole answer will be projector, just so that I can have it for lettering. Because and centering things. I tend to go like this, the cookies like this, and I'm like that. So it helps me center, and it helps me get that nice lettering that everyone can actually read.
Yeah. So you mentioned you mostly just flood all of your cookies, but I'll ask this because I know you've done some that look like they've got a little bit more detail to them as far as volume of icing. Do you ever use, or do you prefer to use tips or tipless bags?
Ooh, tipless for sure, unless it's tipless. Floral. Yeah, tipless.
Yeah. Which leads to the next question. florals or characters? And characters can include animals as well.
Ooh.
You have a bit of a mix I've seen on your profile.
Yeah, and
Which do you
see, okay, so
prefer?
I'm gonna pick florals, but I'm gonna go crazy and tell you that I like to do them with modeling chocolate more than royal ice.
Hmm. And how did you get into modeling chocolate? Have you done a lot of work with that before?
No, I'm brand new to it. I've just been using it for a few months. I was using fondant before, but telling everyone, well, okay, it was store-bought fondant, not homemade fondant. I'm gonna try to make your recipe, I
Mhm.
swear. Uh, but basically telling everyone that, oh, you can pick these parts off of the cookie before you eat it, and then it'll be really, really good, I promise.
Yeah.
And getting feedback from my family, like, are you putting fondant on it again? Was enlightening. And I think the modeling chocolate tastes so much better compared to store-bought fondant that I've been willing to learn the learning curve, to change.
Hmm. It's interesting stuff to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've used it quite a bit. I still always go back to my homemade fondant again because that's my comfort zone. But I like the modeling. I think there's so many more things you can do on a cookie that you can't do with royal icing, and it just kind of adds another level.
Yes,
So
and I
I think
love
it's
the
interesting.
silicone molds, like all the little things you can
Yes.
make with the silicone molds.
There's so many wonderful tools out there these days that you can use to
Hmm.
just take your cookies to another level. Another one now, because I know you like to experiment with your flavors. What is your favorite flavor of cookie for yourself?
My favorite flavor of cookie is butter cookie.
Hmm.
It's just really delicious. It melts in my mouth. I make it and I eat it.
Do you bake often?
I
Most
do. I
weeks?
do. I have
Yeah.
to stop myself from baking as often as I have the inclination to, so so that the kitchen is available for things like making meals and other stuff like that. But I bake as often as I can. So I try to bake like once every week or two, depending on how many cookies I have on the front table.
Do you always tend to have a project on the go?
Yes.
Yes. I think most of us do.
Yes.
Whether we bake for other people or not, I always have something
Our dining room
something
table
in
is
the works.
definitely uh, has has been graciously I'm grateful that I can use it for my cookies. That's what I'm trying to say. All the
And
time.
it's surprising how many things you can amass when you go into the cookie world,
Yes.
especially with colors and piping bags
Hmm.
and tips, and
It's just like art
it
supplies.
can, it is, isn't it? It
Hmm.
can be endless.
Hmm.
And I think we all feel the same. You never have enough space for everything.
Oh
So
yeah.
how do you keep everything organized? Do you have
Oh, I bought a
lots of
bunch of
little
plastic
boxes or
furniture with wheels on it, and I want to improve my my organization. Like I want to upgrade it, but for now, that helps it not all be on the kitchen table with the cookies. So yeah, I bought some like rolling carts that have drawers in them, and that's where I stash all my stuff. It's all organized, and so I can go to a specific spot, and I know that thing is going to be there. That's nice.
hmm. Yeah, it's nice. I'm actually going through the process of reorganizing all of my things, and I'm kind of in the transition where I can't find certain things right
Mm-hmm.
now because I've put them somewhere safe
Yes,
and I can't find that safe
so
space.
safe.
Yeah. So do you have any more cookies that you wanted to show us? You
Let's
want to go back
see.
to your hummingbird
Oh
ones?
yeah. So I was going to show you. So we can't really see this one very clearly because of the light. There's a little bit of yellow. You can sort of see it.
Yeah,
But
I can see that.
these two, I'm going to try to do it so I don't drop them. These two show a progression in stages. This is all of the color. This is most of the color. This is most of and this is all pen. that I have moved around on the dried cookie surface, the icing surface, with a damp brush, paintbrush that's been dipped in Everclear alcohol.
That's amazing.
So you can kind of see
Yeah, that's really good. You can see all the
the
details
little
and all the different.
details. And
So you essentially use the brush to pull the color from the lines that you draw?
yes, and what sometimes I'll do is I'll like put a bunch of color down and then try to like smudge it around so it creates kind of a cloud shape instead of leaving the lines that the pen leaves.
Yes.
And then I can even move it around more after that. But when I first put it down, if I don't move the color immediately, it will create those harsh lines for sure.
Do
Here's
you find that because it's quite humid where you are, it gives you a lot more time to work with as
I
well?
think so. I work with Everclear alcohol, so it evaporates so fast. It
Hmm.
evaporates, I think, like 5 times faster than vodka, something like that. So it dries almost as fast as the pen ink dries on the cookie once
Wow.
you put it down. So it's like hurry up and wait, and hurry up
Yeah.
and wait. But it's yeah, it's fun.
And how long does it take for when you've finished a cookie? How long does it take roughly to dry? I think that might be a question that some people have is if they were doing this to
Instantly.
package something.
Instantly.
Instant. Yeah,
Well, to
that's good.
package them, I usually add some kind of three-dimensional icing element to them after I've done all put on the color and everything and the sparkles. But so then I would leave that to dry at least overnight for any
Hmm.
icing like that before I packaged it. But if it were just the pens, um, as yeah, they can be packaged within minutes of finishing. Definitely. So
So
that's
that's
an
a good option for
upside.
impatient decorators too, right?
Yes.
Whereas royal icing takes so long,
Yes.
unless you have a dehydrator or a fan to speed it up. So that can be a bit of a game changer for people that want to
Yes.
do a lot of cookies with
And
this
last
style.
minute cookies.
Yes, yeah, yeah. So maybe what you can do when we finish is post some of the details about the pens that you use. I think
Okay.
that would be really helpful for Rainbow Just Pens. Did you want to show us that last hummingbird, the final
Oh
one as
yeah.
well again? I love that you can just imagine the movement in it, even though it's a cookie, but that's amazing. And it's got that nice shine as well, and it picks up all your shading. Beautiful.
And I've got luster dust on this, so I've got some like blue and some emerald and some apple green luster dust that's adding to the shimmer and the shine of it.
Yeah, that's great. And I love that you leave those little bits of white peeking through too, just helps, doesn't it, with the realism?
Yeah, it's kind of like the
Very
bright
good.
sky
Amazing.
behind him.
Yeah. So what's next for you? What are you working on next?
Well, I have been invited to do a collaboration with a cake artist. Um, I'm going to be making a plaque cookie and a bunch of merman tails that are going to be coming out of a fabulous wave cake for a birthday celebration, and then I'm also going to be making that Kawakatsu crystal Japanese crystal candy. I'm going to be making like a geode encrusted inside of the wave shape. So that I was invited to do that, and so it's a little bit of a departure from my everyday, but it's kind of stuff that I know how to do. It's cookie elements that I've used in decorating, and I'm excited to collaborate.
Do you have a wish list of cookies that you want to try and make in the future?
Yeah, my wish list is as soon as I think of something that I want to do, to be able to do it. And that is why I have so many supplies. Because I just want to I want to when I'm inspired, I want to make it happen. And
Hmm.
and I have no um uh future plans because I'm inspired constantly, and it's picking through all the inspiration to just pick one thing at a time that's difficult for me.
It's hard, isn't it? Because and we talked about this in previous chats, that you see inspiration everywhere in the most random places. And even things that my kids have, I look at them and I think, oh, that would be amazing to turn it into a cookie. So I
Absolutely.
have like almost a pile of things. I should probably put them in a binder, and when I'm thinking of something to do, I should go to it and pick something. But you're right, this inspiration comes from anything.
Yeah, I
I
definitely
think
have.
once you're in that mindset.
I definitely have a Pinterest board where I keep all of my imagery, my digital imagery that inspires me for cookies. And that Pinterest board is over 1,000 pins. So I guess that maybe answers the question too a little bit.
So any last things that you'd like to talk about?
Basically, when I thought I wasn't any good at decorating cookies, I was wrong. And I would try to scream that from the rooftops to anybody else who wants to do anything artistic or creative that they haven't done before. I had a lot of experience being an artist, and I was very humbled by cookie decorating. And I think that the amazing cookies that I see out in the world that people are making and decorating are so impressive, and that everybody that decorates cookies is an artist. And I have learned from everybody else. That's the only way that I have gotten to the level of practice and precision that I have now. It's just watching other cookiers and practicing. And I just want everybody to know that.
It's so true. And it's such a great community for that people are so willing to share.
Yes.
And you just keep learning, because there is so many different ways to do the same thing. And it's an amazing community to be in. I'm so humbled that people want to come on and talk to me about this as well. It's such a supportive community. So thank you so much for doing this today. It was amazing to see all the different stages of your cookies and get those insights into it as well. So as I mentioned, Ash can share maybe some more information about the pen. So she uses rainbow dust, and share some things on your feed to show the stages as well, and I can send people over to there as well.
Okay, I will.
It's been phenomenal to talk to you. Really nice to see you.
Thank you for having
I've only
me.
seen
it's been a pleasure.
Before, so yeah, it's been really good. For everyone that's watching this on a replay, this will go on to IGTV shortly after we're finished. So feel free to share it with whoever wants to watch it. And I will be back next week with another member of the Cookiers. So I'm going to be talking to Amber from the Sweet Cookie Sheet. So she's also someone that's relatively new to cookies. So I'm excited to talk about her journey and where she started and what she's got planned for the next little while. And that's it from me. So thank you so much again, Ash. Thank you to everyone that watched, and I'll see you next week. Have a great night, everybody. Bye.
Bye.